We're going handheld today. Face it this way, I think is the good way to face it. Like that. This is centered. Right at the camera. We're piecemealing it today. Making it work. That's what it's all about. I'm not in the squeaky chair anymore. You guys missed the first take where I was in the squeaky chair. Hi, I'm Jack. I'm on a very creaky chair right now. Wait a minute. What am I doing? There's a non-creaky chair right over here. Look at this. Oh my god. This chair is so much shorter. Remedied. Fixed. And now I'm in the adjustable chair. Fancy stuff. We're ready? We're good. Drawing is hard. Drawing something every day for a whole month is even harder. And drawing something every day for a whole month during one of the busiest and most stressful months of your life can make you feel like you never want to draw again. But you know, art has a funny way of both draining you and revitalizing you. You might find yourself exhausted at the end of the day, feeling out of ideas and creatively bankrupt. But when you can look at an illustration that you've made and say, wow, I'm actually really happy with that, that dwindling fire gets relit and suddenly you feel motivated again. Hi, my name is Jack. I'm a professional illustrator, or at least I try to be. And today we are going to talk about how drawing prehistoric mermaids every day for a month gave me artistic burnout and helped me overcome it. If you're a regular here, you might already know a little bit about what I'm talking about, but if you're new to the channel, you may be wondering why I chose to subject myself to this unique form of self-inflicted torture. I'm talking, of course, about Mermay, an annual drawing challenge wherein artists create a piece of mermaid-inspired artwork every day for the month of May. The idea was conceived in 2016 by an artist named Tom Bancroft, who first attempted the challenge and invited other artists to join along with him. His connection to Disney, among other things, caused the challenge to go viral, and every year since, people have carried on the tradition. I've been doing my own mermaid challenges for the past, I wanted to say 4 years, but actually I skipped one. I'll just stick with several. For the past several years, creating my own prompt lists for other people to follow along with. That's really the fun part about a challenge like this, that sense of community that you feel with your fellow artists while you're all participating in the same creative marathon. A seemingly infinite number of ideas can spawn from a single prompt list where each artist is interpreting their own prompt in their own unique ways. I have to get used to not moving my hands so much when I'm talking. I'm moving the mic. I don't usually hold my microphone. I usually have an arm to do this for me because I move my hands when I talk. I'll keep it still, keep it centered. This piece by Instagram user blpmvr.art. This piece by Instagram user gianttoadslit012. And this piece by Discord user ThatWorm are all using the same prompt as their inspiration for their art. Isn't it incredible how many different ways you can interpret a single word? That, to me, is the beauty of these challenges. It is genuinely inspiring to see all of the work that was created using my prompt list, and at many points during the month, I found myself looking to my peers for new ideas and motivation to keep going. As much as I enjoy illustration, there were plenty of moments where I found myself sitting down at my iPad without any idea what I was going to draw, or even if I wanted to keep doing this at all. Which brings us to what is really the main topic of this video, artistic burnout. Guys, it happens to everyone. Anyone who has ever committed more than 5 consecutive hours to a single artistic endeavor has, at some point or another in their life, felt like they don't want to do it anymore. You get tired, you run out of ideas, you lose your confidence or your inspiration, and sometimes it just doesn't feel worth it anymore. This is natural. I feel like in this modern age of social media, it's easy to look at an artist who inspires you and see them posting what feels like a shit ton of art on their accounts and thinking, well, I'll never be like them. They don't get tired of making art, and I feel exhausted after finishing a single piece. Let me tell you, those people get slumps too. I am no exception. Even writing the script for this video had me feeling tired. How ironic is that? There isn't some natural inborn immunity to burnout. The trick is figuring out how to overcome it. During the past month, and throughout other challenges like Mermay, I've learned how to conquer that feeling of disparity and soldier through until I could feel proud of my finished product. This video is my attempt at identifying how exactly I was able to do that, and sharing my trade secrets with you guys to help you whenever you feel creatively burnt out. First off, a little context. Let me give you the who, what, where, why, and how of Mermay 2025. Who? That's me, Jack. I'm an illustrator who draws pictures for a living and for fun. I also run this YouTube channel, and I like to write stories to accompany my character designs and my other artwork, like the Enigmorph project, which, never fear, has not been forgotten. I took most of the month of May to focus on Mermay, as you might have guessed. But I promise there will be new developments on the Enigmorph projects coming soon, like this month. I'm going to make another Enigmorph video this month. That's guaranteed. You can count on it. Now, that brings us to the what. My Mermay was going to have a fun little twist to it. Last year, instead of Mermay, I did Mesozoic, and I drew a different prehistoric animal every day for the month of May. For 2025, I decided to get the best of both worlds and combine the two challenges to create Mermaisozoic, drawing mermaids inspired by prehistoric animals. Was I making more work for myself? Perhaps, but I knew adding this extra challenge to the month would make it more enjoyable. And that brings us to the why. We're skipping where for now, but don't worry, we're going to get back to that in a second. Why prehistoric mermaids? Why mermaids at all? Why do anything when you could just play a Roblox game for 13-year-olds with almost no gameplay but really cool monsters? That's a tangent I won't go off on right now, but if you want to hear an adult man talk about creatures of Sonaria for an hour, let me know in the comments. Art is human expression. It's how people communicate to other people what excites them, what intrigues them, and what they find most important in this world. Saying nature is an inspiration to visual artists is kind of like saying food is an inspiration to chefs, but nonetheless, I think a big part of my own work is an expression of my appreciation for our natural world, particularly weird and interesting animals. This, of course, extends to animals that are long dead, the predecessors of life on Earth today, and all of those other little freaks, the likes of which no longer exist. I'm not a scientist. You have to be good at math to be a scientist, and my proficiency in arithmetic caps off around the 7 times tables. But I do have what I like to consider to be a scientific curiosity. There is so much about this world to learn, from ecology to zoology to paleontology, and how these fields all connect with one another. It baffles me when people don't know things like crocodiles are related to birds, or that horseshoe crabs have existed for millions of years without barely changing at all. You know, these little Snapple facts that can sort of branch out into different routes of scientific exploration. I love to learn about these things, at least at a perfunctory level, and I love to share them with other people. I genuinely believe that if more people took a minute to ask questions about things that they didn't understand and spent a little bit more time appreciating the world around us instead of just exploiting it for whatever selfish ends they think they're entitled to, 99% of all of our problems would be solved. Maybe, like 96 or 97%. Most of our problems would be solved. That's why I wanted to do Mermaisozoic, to get people interested in the same topics that I'm interested in, to make them ask questions, and to get them excited about real-world science so that they too can set off on journeys of exploration and knowledge and expand what they know about the planet and the life that we share it with. Just verbalizing all of this gets me invigorated. It almost makes me want to do it again, go for another 31 days and draw another 31 prehistoric mermaids, but that's how I felt at the beginning of the month. I was so ready to crank out dozens of awesome illustrations for people to enjoy. That brings us to the where. I told you we'd get back to that. If you're a regular here on Subjectively, you've probably already noticed that this is a different room from where I normally film. Not just a different room, but a different building in an entirely different town. Claire and I recently purchased our first home. A very big step, and one of the largest life changes that I've experienced since I graduated college. Disclaimer: when I wrote this script, I thought that I was going to be filming in our new home. This is not our new home. This is my mom's home. I wish I could afford this house. This is the house I grew up in. I would love to live here. I don't. I live somewhere else, but we're house sitting right now. Another sort of unexpected bump in the road. We're going to talk about bumps in the road in a minute. But yeah, you got to kind of roll with the punches. And my mom needed someone to house sit, so we are house sitting, which is also why I am looking after 3 dogs and a cat for most of the week that I'm recording this and working on this video. Actually, I don't love holding the microphone so much, but for the most part, this is a pretty good setup for filming. I have so much more room. Like, I can actually move. Like, my desk was in kind of like a cramped spot, but this is like, I can move around. But I'm moving this is why I don't like holding the microphone, because I move my hands when I talk and the microphone moves with my hands, and then I need to get a clip. If I do this kind of style of recording again, I'm going to need a clip, one of those little clip-on mics, so I can move my hands a lot while I talk. But anyway, we did buy a new home, and we signed the papers on the last day of April, mere hours before I uploaded the first Mermay illustration. Now, as exciting as it has been to have a totally new space with more room in a nice neighborhood with we actually have windows that aren't street level and being blocked by cars 70% of the time. Huge, I know. And that's all well and good, but, it's also been a lot of work, and it's also been more than just a little bit stressful. You only buy your first home once, and there's quite a bit you have to learn sort of all at once, how to deal with problems like hot water not coming out of your kitchen sink, or the manual labor involved in renovating a space to make it your own, adjusting to financial burdens like HOA fees, mortgage payments, and homeowners insurance, and, in my opinion, the toughest part of moving to a new home, dealing with neighbors. Holy moly. I could tell you some stories about some of the people who live in my condo complex. There's a scene in Seinfeld where Jerry is visiting his parents down in Florida at their retirement community.
You could put a fence around these condos and call it an insane asylum. Nobody would know the difference.
Yeah, it's literally like that. Like, most of the people that I've met in our neighborhood and in our building are very chill. They're either incredibly friendly and outgoing and they want to talk with me and have conversations, or they're just like, hey, nice to see you. I'm going to go into my home now. I'm going to mind my own business. You mind your own business. Fine. But retired people, man. Retired people have way too much time on their hands, and they spend it complaining about parking spots and what kind of garbage is supposed to go in the garbage pail. I'm learning. I have to, otherwise these old ladies are going to kill me. Now, I know that for some people, dealing with meddlesome neighbors is like water off a duck's back, but for me, it's really hard. I'm the kind of person who I feel responsible. Even if I know that what I'm being yelled at for is not really a big deal, like, it still makes me feel bad. I'm like, oh, I've upset this person, whether or not this person is justified in being upset. I have upset them, and I don't want to upset anyone. I want to try to avoid upsetting anyone at all costs, especially if it's for something trivial like me making too much noise or putting the wrong kind of the garbage in the wrong kind of dumpster. Like, I don't want to be that neighbor. So even though, I tell people and they're like, oh, well, that's ridiculous. I'm like, I know it's ridiculous, but it still makes me feel bad because I'm upsetting my neighbors. I don't want to do that. I'm also the kind of person who sort of needs a home base to recuperate at the end of the day and a consistent place to work in order to stay productive. For weeks, it felt like I didn't have a home base because I was simultaneously packing up my old home and moving into and working on my new home. Anyway, that's a lot of stuff, and it really doesn't have anything to do with art, but it does have to do with artistic burnout, and that is the where. I was working on illustrations for Mermay at my old apartment on some days, in my new place on other days, and a few other odd places in between. And that was probably the main factor that contributed to a lot of my burnout. And that happens sometimes. I mean, sometimes you don't have control over every aspect of your life. And even when you make a choice that you know is going to be good for you, there are circumstances involved with that choice that make your everyday life harder. And you can feel prepared for it at the time, but when it actually happens, all of that stress, all of the change that is happening to you at once, it impacts you. And it makes things that are usually easy for you a lot harder. So how did I finish all 31 illustrations without giving up or breaking down into tears? Well, who says I didn't break down into tears? Honestly, answering the question how took almost as much work as drawing all those mermaids did. I've been asked before by numerous artists what my methods are for overcoming artistic burnout, and I feel like I never had a good answer for them. This may just be me, but sometimes you solve your problems unconsciously without even realizing what you did to get from point A to point B. And that's all well and good for the time being, but if you have the same problems again down the road and you don't have that immediate resolution, you kind of have to start all over from square one. So this will be as much of a guide for me as it will be for all of you guys. In 2 months, when I attempt to do Smaugust, I'll be sure to go back and watch this video again to remind myself how I managed to finish Mermay 2025. All right, so I actually took notes here, so we're going to go down the list and read through how I did this, because I needed to write this down. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't remember how I did it. Okay, first, let's talk concept development. When it comes to character design, it's always a good idea. I'll let that guy go by first. Okay, when it comes to character design, it's always a good idea to thoroughly explore a concept before drawing anything. Of course, when you have to come up with an illustration every day for a whole month straight, you kind of have to abbreviate the usual process of doing rough sketches, trying out different silhouettes, thumbnailing, composition, so on. All of that stuff kind of has to be condensed into a much shorter process. The stress involved in coming up with a new idea every day is enough to make anyone crack, so here's my advice. Sit with the prompt, give it no more than 10 minutes of your time to let it resonate with you. What about this single word catches in your brain? It can happen quickly, so this is an exercise in self-awareness. Listen to your gut. In the case of this particular challenge, throw the prompt into Google and do a tiny bit of research. It's not scary, I promise. Skim the Wikipedia article about whatever prehistoric animal you're illustrating. You don't have to write a report on the subject, just scan the information for something that interests you. Something about the discovery of the specimen, about the name it was given, maybe something about where it was found, or what other animals it might be related to. This can yield mixed results. For example, for day 9 of the challenge, I had to come up with a design for Attenboroughsaurus, a plesiosaur named after David Attenborough. Now, I was reluctant to just put the old man on a plesiosaur body and call it a day. I just didn't think it would look good, nor did I think I would be able to do his likeness any justice. Instead, my mind took me in another direction entirely. Follow me for a minute as I replay this internal word association game that transpired in my head. Alright, Attenboroughsaurus, Boros, Ouroboros, World Serpent, Norse mythology, Draugr, undead Viking warrior. I was even able to come up with a composition for this illustration using this concept, utilizing the long neck of the plesiosaur to pose the character in a ring, mimicking the shape that the mythical Ouroboros is usually depicted in. Sometimes, though, this haphazard method of coming up with ideas doesn't yield such impressive results. Day 28's prompt was Edestus, a shark-like fish with some really weird teeth. There was a lot I could have done with this, but at the time, I was coming up empty. So I kinda just put pen to paper, so to speak, and tried to find it along the way. I ended up creating this juxtaposition between the grotesque appearance of the bizarre jaws, which I turned into some kind of headpiece, and other much more cutesy features like an implied skirt and a literal bow. I think that given more time and a few more passes, this could have been something cool, but I'm not happy with it. But you know, with a challenge like this, sometimes you just have to get a piece done and move on. And you never know, maybe other people will like it more than you do. So when it comes to concept development on a tight timeline, sometimes it pays to be impulsive. You have good ideas, trust me. You do. All you need is the confidence to just say yeah and do it. And hey, if you really feel tapped out, remember, with challenges like this, there are always other artists you can look to get inspiration. We have our own Discord with channels for artists to share their ideas and to just hang out with each other. During the month of May, the Mermaids channel was blowing up with all kinds of amazing work that helped me keep going even when I felt like I could never think of something in time. And speaking of time, let's talk about an artist's two least favorite words: time management. Now, in an ideal world, we could all just be Bilbo Baggins and spend 50 years slowly adding on to a single creative endeavor while taking ample tea breaks and walks through the Shire and eventually retire to Rivendell to write music with elves. Unfortunately, most of us don't have a 1/14th share of a dragon's hoard of gold, so if we want to make artwork our livelihood, that is, actually make money doing it, we gotta manage our time well enough to make sure that we can pay the bills. Challenges like this are a great way to practice time management, and during my chaotic month of May, I had my work cut out for me. The trick is to anticipate disruptions and prepare for them. Even if you have your month planned out to the minute, there's always going to be something that throws a wrench into your plans. Now, I'm going to admit something. I actually started this drawing challenge a few days before the 1st of May. I knew that I would be busy after we signed out our new place, and I figured that if I could do a few illustrations before Mermay even started, I'd have some time to take a day or two to focus on moving. So on May 1st, I actually had a backlog of 4 illustrations already done and ready to upload. Now that's all well and good, but I didn't anticipate the amount of work I needed to do on our new place before we could even move in. The best laid plans of mice and men, you guys know the saying. Even when you think you're getting ahead of schedule, you can run into unexpected bumps in the road. Like watching your mom's house for a week. I knew that my mom was traveling. I was actually invited to go with her. I said no. I said I need to stay home. I need to work. But then something came up and she didn't have anyone to watch her dogs or her cat or the house. And so even though I thought I wasn't going to be taking this trip with my family because I knew I needed to work, I still ended up having to leave my home again to watch my mom's house. So I brought my computer and I brought my microphone and my stand for recording, and I said, all right, I am going to make it work. Another example of bumps in the road disrupting your plans would be our monthly rewards for our Patreon supporters and our channel members. Guys, I am so sorry that April's video did not come out until June and that the May video only came out a few days later. The poll is available for June's video, so if you are a channel member or a Patreon supporter, go check out those polls and vote on what you want us to do for June's video. We have, let's see if I remember correctly, Mini Kaijun, design one kaiju for a mini kaiju. I'm not doing all of Kaijun, but one kaiju for Kaijun's sake. Theory crafting for Legends ZA, maybe like designing some new mega evolutions or like regional variants or something like that. The other one was design another Fakemon for the Haba region. Remember my New England themed Pokemon region? Maybe design another Pokemon for that. And the last one was to talk about the Shyvana, recent leaks about the Shyvana VGU, and maybe like do some designs based around that, perhaps, maybe. I mean, the May video was by no vote of the patrons was a Shyvana themed video anyway, so you're probably sick of Shyvana at this point, but I threw it on the poll because it was on my mind when I uploaded the poll. So if you do want more Shyvana, let me know because I do too. Anyway, guys, the support from our channel members and patrons it's really so important to us and to our channel. And even when we fail to deliver on your rewards on time, I just want you to know how much we really appreciate your continued support. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for not bailing on us during this chaotic month of May. Now, we do have some cool rewards for our Patreon supporters that will go out on time, like this amazing exclusive print designed by Claire, based on day 13 of Mermaids. If you want to get a hold of rewards like these and other cool perks, consider supporting us on Patreon. Support from viewers like you is what keeps this channel alive, and we really appreciate it. Okay, so I got sidetracked there. How ironic is it that I got sidetracked from the topic of disruptions in your work schedule? It happens. these things happen. When you reach these little moments, there are a few things to keep in mind. I've actually created a flowchart to help myself calm down and recenter so that I don't absolutely lose my shit. So you're feeling overwhelmed with and behind on work. Firstly, is this a paying job? If the answer is yes, can you ask for an extension? If you can, get the extension and take the extra time to slow down and do the job right. If you can't, can you move around other parts of your schedule? Maybe skip the Wednesday night gaming session you normally do with your friends, or work a little bit on Saturday even though it's the weekend. If you can't do these things, then it's time for an all-nighter to make that deadline. But don't neglect your mental health entirely. Once the job is done, be sure to rest up. Now, if this is a personal project that you're doing for yourself, you need to ask if it's worth the stress. Maybe drawing a mermaid every day for a month just is doing more harm than it is good. For me, doing challenges like this occasionally is worth the stress. It's important to me that I can really put myself through the ringer and commit to a project that will be hard. It's a real what doesn't kill you makes you stronger kind of situation. So, for this question, I would answer yes, at which point I'd ask if I'm giving myself a hard deadline. With Mermay, part of the challenge is completing 31 illustrations within 31 days. There's some leniency, of course. Nothing bad is going to happen to me if I have to take a few extra days out of June to get them all done, which is what I ended up doing. In fact, I gave myself about a day and a half after May was over to make sure that my final illustration of Basilosaurus was something that I could really be proud of. Finish strong, as they say. On some days, I just said I'm okay with falling a little further behind for the sake of my own sanity and to be happy with my work. But if the answer to the deadline question is a yes, I ask myself the same question of, can I move around other parts of my schedule, and come to one of the two conclusions that we discussed before. Of course, if this is a personal project that you're okay with postponing, don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay to put some work on the back burner, especially if it feels like it's doing more harm than good. Give yourself a break and return to the project when you're ready. Despite what people say, art does not have to be suffering. If you're a freelance illustrator like myself, this flowchart helps a lot with time management. At the end of the day, it's up to you how you're going to spend your time, but if you want to work for yourself making art for a living, sometimes you have to make hard choices that may put you in uncomfortable situations. That's why exercises like Mermay are so valuable. You can get a lot of practice with time management skills and coping with overwhelming situations. Some of my go-to time savers fall under the umbrella of technical skills. Your technical skills are the objective part of illustration, right? Application of knowledge such as line work and composition and color and all of those great things that you learn in school. Or that you learn in videos online. I'm totally an advocate for people not going to art school. If you want to be a professional artist, you really don't have to. It's important to have a few reliable techniques to fall back on during a challenge like this, because whether you feel burned out or not, you're going to need to crank out work at a speed that allows you to meet your quota. One of my go-to cheat codes for challenges like this takes advantage of Procreate's symmetry tool. Procreate, by the way, is the app that I use for digital illustration. I have it on my iPad. I actually really enjoy using the symmetry tool. It cuts my work time in half and creates unique visuals. When I use the symmetry tool, I find myself focusing more on things like patterns, armor, and weapons. It's almost relaxing. It seems pretty obvious, but I'll just tell you that I used the symmetry tool to help create days 2, 16, 22, 25, and 31. I like to think of these characters as all being connected, like a pantheon of deities or perhaps priests and priestesses who worship some ancient primeval sea god. Tools like Procreate's Drawing Assist are just that, tools to aid in your projects. Try not to abuse them to a point where your intention as an illustrator is lost. We've talked about this before, but intent is the most important part of character design. Never forget why you're making what you're making. When I work with the symmetry tool, I resist the temptation to make the entire image 100% symmetrical. Sometimes this means changing the pose of the hand so that they're performing different actions. Sometimes it means adding small details on either side, and in every case, I avoided using the symmetry tool for the final painting and color rendering. Actually, while I'm on the topic of colors, it's worth mentioning how a project like this can really help with your color sense skills. As the month goes on, you'll be able to see very clearly which palettes you have a proclivity to. My bias is usually primary colors. I love red, blue, and yellow. But because I'm making so many pieces in such a short amount of time, I can look at the body of work as it expands and ensure that I don't have every piece be the same color. Contrarily, you can commit to a single palette for the whole month. My Mermay from a few years ago that was connected to the Enigmorph world was all in sepia tones, exclusively browns, yellows, and reds. That collection of illustrations is still some of my proudest work. I look back on that challenge with a lot of admiration for that guy who was able to make so many bangers in a row. Who is he? That sounds like a sarcastic and rhetorical question, but I honestly find it critical as an artist to analyze the factors relevant to my work, and specifically the pieces that I am most proud of in retrospect. So I actually took notes again as I worked on the pieces that I was most happy with during this month so that I could remember what the conditions were that they were conceived in precisely. These were the notes that I took for day 23's illustration, which I think is probably my top 5 favorite pieces from this month's challenge. So this was, okay, so I finished this on one of the first days that I had finally settled into my new home. So I had my desk set up, all of my stuff that I needed to work on, to work with had been brought over from my old place into my new place, and I was feeling like I had my new workspace. It wasn't the place I'd been working in for the past 4 years, but it felt like my workspace. So I started working on this piece after I had finished a piece that I was also really happy with. So I felt good about the last piece I did, so I was going into this one feeling like, okay, I can do this. The last one I made, I liked it. I'm gonna like this one too. So I was coming into it with a positive attitude. The sketching took place in a pseudo group setting while my mind was otherwise occupied. This is an interesting one. I don't know if this applies to everyone, but sometimes I work better when I'm not really focusing on it. The pseudo group setting that I'm referring to here was a game of Civ 6 that I was playing with some of my friends. If you don't already know this, Civ is a game that takes a lot of time to play, and it leaves you with a lot of free time while you're waiting for other players to take their turns. So in between turns, because I'm very bad at Civ and I was kind of rushing through my turns, I was drawing. So I would draw for 5 minutes, then look up at the game for 2 minutes, then draw for 5 minutes, so on and so forth. And that actually, I think, kind of helped. It helped me not overthink it. It helped me kind of just flow with the illustration. The other thing about this, and this is kind of contrary to the challenge of drawing something every day for an entire month, but this one took me more than just one day to finish. So because I was working on this while I was playing with my friends, it was kind of late in the evening. I had already finished a Mermay illustration that day. So I was like, all right, I have one done for today. Let me start working on the next one. So I started it, and it didn't take me more time. It probably took me around 4 or 5 hours to finish this illustration, which is about the same amount of time it took me to do the other ones. But I started it on one night and finished it the next morning. So kind of having a break in between, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to, to do it over the course of 2 days, but maybe start working on it, step away from it for a while, work on something else, or just take a break or sleep, and then coming back to it. That seems to have helped. It was a simple profile perspective. Sometimes if working from a profile, just one side, you don't have to draw both eyes. If that makes it easier for you, if you need to save some time, do it. Just do that. Just draw from a profile perspective. That always makes it easier for me. It's half the work, essentially. There was no complicated reference for this. I didn't really have a super strong idea in my head. The only thing I was referencing was the prehistoric animal. I already forgot what it was called. Oh, Langstonia. Yes, the crocodile. Well, not actually a crocodile. Crocodile-like, closely related, but not actually a crocodile. The terrestrial crocodile, yes. Langstonia. I got distracted again. What the hell was I talking about? Color palette that I loved. That's always good. It literally helps you feel excited. If you, for me at least, working with colors that I really like, it just makes me feel like I want to work with it more. When I have that ombre of yellow into pink, it just gets me excited. And so once I got to the coloring point, which sometimes feels like a drag for me, if I use those colors and they just make sense to me, and I can just work with them. I was listening to subject matter that kept me focused while I was working. So for the first half of me working on this, I was playing Civ. For the second half, I was watching some YouTube channels that I really like. In fact, I was watching paleontology-related YouTube channel. Lindsay Nicole, if you don't watch her stuff and you're interested in paleontology, I don't know what you're doing. You've probably, even if you're like just kind of like fringe interested in any topic of biology or ecology, you've probably seen her shorts on YouTube or TikTok. Like, I don't know, just check her out. She's great. And then I also started working earlier in the day. So again, for the second half of this, the first half was late at night. Second half was earlier in the morning. So that actually kind of feels like a wash, because the first half of it was late at night. The second half of it was late in the morning, and I still liked it. So I might scratch that one off the list. That one feels like a bit of a wash. I don't know. And I felt generally relaxed about completing the illustration. That one I also feel like I want to take off the list, because you can't really control that. You can't always just feel relaxed about completing the illustration. I think that the previous factors that I was talking about already contributed to me feeling relaxed about the illustration. But I that's kind of a bullshit one to say. Oh, just feel relaxed. Just don't stress. Oh, great advice. I feel so much better now. It really shouldn't come as a surprise, but taking notes on myself like this, while it seems weird, was really helpful. Not only in the moment, but I'm sure that it will help me going forward whenever I do my next inevitably overwhelming project. And hopefully it's helpful to you in some way too. Always be conscious of yourself and your process as you work. Don't let it become mechanical. The second that you lose the you from your art, you're just making a product. But even when you're making just straight art, just serving up the good stuff that you're really proud of, it may still feel like something's missing. Especially when it comes to sharing your work on the internet. It is such a double-edged sword. On the one hand, social media platforms provide independent artists with a way to reach an audience all over the world, opening opportunities for employment and putting your work in the hands of thousands, if not millions of people. On the other hand, sometimes you spend a month drawing mermaids only for someone to comment something harsh, insensitive, or just plain mean. Man, it takes the wind out of my sails when I read comments like that. All that work and it's not even what the people want. Of course, that's not actually true, but my insecure ass always feels like that. My toxic trait is always feeling like I'm not doing enough. The mean comments can really stick with you, though. There's a great episode of Bob's Burgers that addresses how senseless criticism can hit you right in your deepest insecurities. Even if the person saying it doesn't really even mean it, if it brings up a feeling that you already felt yourself, it resonates on a level that can obliterate your self-confidence.
Honey, I worry you're getting a little too focused on bathroom feedback.
Social media has a way of putting a metric on your hard work. Oh, you think this was a good piece of artwork? Well, it only got a fraction of the likes that this video of Peter Griffin did.
Holy.
Okay, actually that video is pretty funny. I'll give it another like. Instagram in general is kind of becoming a tough place to share your work as a visual artist. My posts used to get like 4,000 to 7,000 likes each. Now I'm lucky to break 2K, which I understand is still pretty good engagement for a visual artist who doesn't do any reels or short form media content. But the shift is still very apparent, and I'm sure anyone else who uses Instagram is noticing it too. So what then? What if you work hard and see what feels like nothing in return? No money, no appreciation, like just a handful of little thumbs up on your posts. What if the haters got you down and are keeping you down? This is a hard question to answer. I can't really make a flow chart for this one or give you tips on what Procreate tools can help you with feelings of self-doubt. To be honest, it often stumps me too. It can get to the point where all I can do is put my phone down and step away, resurface from the pseudo relationships of the internet and back into the safe shores of real life. Spend time with the people who love you, who appreciate your hard work and will support you through thick and thin. Laugh at something stupid together, or spend an hour outside by yourself looking at birds or getting a coffee. Basically, touch grass. No, I'm not to hit you with the Coach McGurk advice, but sometimes
life sucks, all right?
Yeah.
Period.
Uh-huh.
Done deal. You got it?
Got it.
There's your lesson.
Okay.
I mean, it does. Sometimes it just does. But for every little thing that sucks, try to find 10 things that make you excited, interested, motivated, or just that make you feel good. Like prehistoric crabs, or whales that eat sharks, or a beautiful ombre of yellow into pink, or just the simple joy of drawing boobs. Listen, if drawing boobs makes you happy, by all means, draw boobs. Like, life's too short. Sometimes you just gotta put big bazongas on that mermaid for no reason other than it gives you the old neuron activation. Like, that's what we're all here for, isn't it? Art should be a way for you to express your appreciation for everything that doesn't suck. Or sometimes it can be a way to help you process the parts of life that do suck. Sharing your negative experiences through your art can be even more therapeutic than trying to escape from them. Day 8's illustration was done on a night where I was feeling particularly stressed out about our new home. This big thing my wife and I had been working towards for so long was starting to feel like nothing but an emotional drain. The only idea that I could come up with for the prompt crinoid was a multi-headed, multi-bodied mermaid colony with these androgynous, faceless figures. As I was sketching, I unconsciously posed one of these figures resting on the shoulder of another. I don't know why, but that little fictional guy was tired, stressed, and in need of support, just like me. Weirdly, it helped me feel better. It helped me realize what I really needed. And I'll never take for granted that I have my own shoulder to lean on. So, to recap, who? Me, Jack Burke, the professional illustrator who still gets overwhelmed by his professional illustrations. What? Mermay, a drawing challenge that really is challenging. Where? In my brand new home, and also in my old home, with all of the stress that accompanied such a big life change. Why? To challenge myself, and to share my love of science, and to entertain my fans. How? Some time management skills, a mental health break here or there, a few cheat codes to help the work go faster, and a lot of emotional support from the people that I love. And hey, speaking of support, if you made it this far into the video, why not click the link in the description and go check out my Redbubble? Sorry, that was a pretty bad transition. There's shameless self-promotion, and then there's shameless self-promotion. But anyway, I made all 31 of my illustrations from this month's challenge into merch that you can buy in the form of prints and stickers and other stuff. Money isn't everything, but a few purchases here and there would really help offset some of the financial deficit that I incurred drawing all of these mermaids last month and doing very little else. I mean, let's just chalk this up to another tip. Shameless self-promoting goes a long way for independent artists. You gotta take the W's where you can. In other words, buy my stuff. Hopefully this little retrospective has helped you with some of your own dilemmas, whether they be art-related or otherwise. We all struggle from time to time, and it can be hard to get to a place where you feel confident enough to get back on that horse, but you can do it. I promise you, you can do it. If there are any other questions that you guys have about me, or this drawing challenge, or my artistic process, or what my favorite Pokemon is, really anything, I'd be happy to answer them down in the comments. Thank you again to our loyal Patreon supporters and channel members. If you've made it this far into the video, and especially if you've already spent money on my stuff, consider becoming a patron or a channel member. We have awesome perks like prints for the Patreon supporters and stickers. And if you're a YouTube channel member, you also have access to the exclusive videos, which, like I said earlier, were not delivered on time, but that's never going to happen again. We are all set up in our new home, and we promise that we will actually get the videos within the month that they are due. And the poll for this month is already up. So if you are a channel member or a Patreon supporter, go check out those polls and vote. Vote on your favorite topic for the video. I think I talked about them earlier, right? Yeah. That is it. Check the script. That's it. Not a great ending to a video. But I think the, like, 35 seconds ago, what I said, that was a pretty good ending to the video. So just go back and then stop watching the video there. You can do it. I promise you, you can do it.